Okay, I decided to do a hopefully quick random thoughts and rant video, and also Thanksgiving Day message. Those of you in the militia and patriot movements, or just plain constitutionalist, today is a very monumental day for us, in that we are still at home. We are not in the field having to use these every minute of every day, either to protect ourselves or to get something to eat. We are still staying warm in our beds at night instead of trying to stay warm in a sleeping bag. We have a roof over our heads that is not comprised of either tent canvas or plastic from a tarp. And the most important part is you're having more time with your family members, with your loved ones. I hope that all of you will be enjoying Thanksgiving with your loved ones, the people you care about, that you are not allowing the leftists, the communists, the globalists, the deep state to dictate to you that you're not allowed to be around anyone because of the COVID hoax. Hopefully you've given our enemies a big middle finger, and we'll be enjoying this holiday with as many family members as you can. And as always, because of the situation, the times that we find ourselves in, enjoy this holiday with your loved ones as if it is your last, because you do not know what will happen tomorrow or next week or next month. I remember a couple years ago, Kaz doing a message after the 2016 election for Thanksgiving, talking about how he was thankful that he was home, that he had anticipated that by that Thanksgiving he would be spending it in a cave somewhere, eating an MRE as his Thanksgiving meal. As this year progressed, I anticipated that my Thanksgiving meal this year was probably going to comprise maybe some rice or some ramen noodles that I was able to get out of a cache, and then whatever small game I was able to trap. Even if it is only a rat or two, well, that's still game, it's still food. So be thankful. And I encourage all of you to actually look into Thanksgiving. This week, I was able to listen to the radio a few times when I was driving, and I did hear part of the Thanksgiving Day message that Rush Limbaugh apparently puts out every year. He has a set message that he's written up and he's read every year for the past 30-some years. It's the actual history of Thanksgiving. I suggest you find it somewhere online and listen to it, or read it if you find a printed copy. Find out the actual significance of Thanksgiving. It's more than what we were even taught in school when we were children. That the Pilgrims were not thanking the Native Americans, the Indians, for the help that they got. They were thanking God for the help that He gave them over the previous year. After all the hardships and misery they had been through during their first year. So check into that, listen to it, and then possibly play it for your family members so that they hear and understand just how important this holiday is. Looking ahead, we have Christmas coming up, and I do anticipate that because there's already rumblings about this, they will tell us that no one can be with anyone else during Christmas, that the whole 10-person and 12-person limits will probably be brought down to just immediate family members. Churches will probably be closed. Why do I say that? Is because they're already talking about that in the news. Different media talking heads talking about how Christians need to start feeling the pain and that they should take away Christmas from us. If this does occur, I recommend the same thing. Get together with as many family members as you can. Hold your own church services if your church is one of them that does cave in to the demands of the socialists. If your church is one of them that has allowed themselves to become weak, to turn away from God and is now being instructed by man. And remember to focus on the real importance of that holiday. It isn't the presents. It's about the present that was given to mankind by God. I hope all of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. You stuff yourselves to as much as you can. As the saying is, you stuff yourself like a Thanksgiving Day turkey on whatever is available to you. And then keep in mind on how thankful you should be. And everyone must continue to be watchful every day that passes, and everyone must continue to prepare. Now we'll get down into the rant random thoughts part and general what the hell's going on with the nation. The election still has not officially been called. The media is continuing with the psyop of telling us that Biden has won, and they're playing up the bullshit of he's the president-elect. There is no such thing as the office of president-elect. There never has been. The reason he's doing that is to convince everyone that he is the actual person who won the election, and he's trying to seem presidential. That's why he's out every day with these little news conferences announcing this person's in this position, this person's in this position, we're going to do this policy, this policy. He's trying to appear presidential after all those months during the campaign where he was literally kept in hiding in the basement so people wouldn't see how bad his dementia is. And if you haven't noticed, they've been keeping Camel Toe Harris under wraps so that people do not see just how much of a dingbat she is. How even far left of Bernie Sanders she is. It's part of the psyops. Trump has not been out talking much. I find this a huge mistake on his part. And it will bite him in the rear end. I actually bit the bullet and listened to InfoWars once or twice this week. And he said he's been in contact with members of the Trump administration, the Trump legal team. And that reportedly Trump has been told he needs to stay under wraps, keep his mouth shut, do not post Twitter messages. Because when he does that, it influences the courts to rule against him because they're tired of hearing what he has to say. I think this is a huge issue because it makes the American people believe that he lost the election but is refusing to admit it. While you have Biden out there looking presidential, you have Trump essentially in hiding, acting like a little child, refusing to admit he lost. So, huge mistake on that part for him. And it will end up costing him, I believe. I've heard it said that the reason the election was given to George W. in 2000, for those of you that aren't old enough to remember that fiasco, or you were too young to remember to notice it, the reason the election was given to W in 2000 was because he was doing the same thing that Biden was doing, or is doing now. He was coming out being presidential, while Gore was sitting off on the side, essentially being quiet, and he was saying, well, let's see what the courts have to say. So, going off of what's happened in the past, it doesn't look good for Trump, does it? There is more and more word coming out on the recounts in Georgia and Michigan, where they've conducted quote-unquote recounts, but the recounts they did were conducted along the exact same lines as the original counts. A lot of talk that all they did is go back and look at computer data in most areas, have not actually looked at the paper ballots. Then there's also, as we know, paper ballots were being destroyed. So then the only data they have is the computer data, which, you know, Dominion. Do I need to say any more? People have gone on to do huge videos about that fiasco. Reminds me of the whole Diebold machines. Remember those from previous elections that caused problems? Seriously, why do we still use this stuff? Why haven't we not gone to just 100 or gone back to just 100% paper ballots? Why is it every election we have to hear about problems with the voting machines? Get rid of the goddamn things. Plain and simple. Toss them. Go to paper fucking ballots again, people. Christ. Reportedly, 30 to 40 cases have been tossed out. So the media is saying that the Trump campaign has nothing substantive to their claims because their cases are constantly getting tossed. Word is these cases were ones that were filed by local Republican Party personnel, and for whatever reason those were tossed, but the actual cases brought up in court or filed in court by the Trump campaign, those are still in consideration. They just have not been heard. My suspicion is they're going to hold off on those cases till after the law says the different counts have to be certified and the electors are supposed to be chosen in December here. So they're slowballing it through the court system so that by the time the case is already heard, it's a moot point because the states have already certified, the electors have already been chosen, and you know the outcome. Regardless, at this point, I do not believe that Trump will be certified as the president because of how effective the fraud has been now. As I said during the live stream, they've had more than enough time now to get rid of Trump ballots. And yes, I am aware that some of the videos that are out there of people destroying Trump ballots were fake. But keep in mind, you'll have a few videos like that where it's a clear fraud. But that doesn't mean all of them are. So you still got leftists out there that actually are destroying Trump ballots. And they're so fucking arrogant, they're videotaping themselves. But they're trying to paint over that by having other idiots come out there, do videos, and do them so poorly and clearly are fraud that they can, you know, whitewash the whole thing. It's not like they haven't used that tactic before on stuff. So we'll probably have President Harris in January. A lot of Trump voters, a lot of Republicans will say, well, we tried, we lost, we'll try again in 4 years, and they'll sit back. We've already heard a lot of what the Harris administration, I'm not going to say Biden, that son of a bitch won't make it longer than a week before he gets removed for 25th Amendment. We have already heard a lot of the stuff they're going to do. They've already said they're going to do magazine bans. They're going to register semi-auto assault rifles like this, and your ARs, your AKs, and FALs, and anything else that you have that's a semi-auto. They're going to register them as the same as fully automatic weapons. They're going to register magazines, and you're going to have to pay the $200 tax stamp per weapon, per magazine. The round count I am hearing is magazines over 10 rounds. But I got a feeling they'll drop it down to maybe 7 or under. And I expect massive civil disobedience on that one. People will not register their weapons and get the tax stamps. People will not register every single magazine or even a single one. You can see on all these different policies how just even one of the things that they're calling for in the first week of the Biden administration, just one, can cause a person to say, F it, I'm tired of this, I'm going to war. Just one thing. But they're not going to do just one, they're just going to do a slew of things. Now, that can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. It's a good thing in that it gives us a timeline of late January to beginning of February. So that gives us additional time to get ready, additional time for planning, reconning, getting caches in. If you haven't, the ground's probably frozen now, so you're going to have to check into operational caches. Research on how to properly package your caches to protect against winter, against frost, against snow and moisture. Because your caches will probably be above ground for the most part or hidden inside caves, dugouts, nooks, and that stuff that you find. You got to have them properly protected against moisture. I will mention the live stream. Did that with Kazakh a couple weeks ago, and I had a hell of a fun time on that one. I know he did. He wants to do another one here early in December. Hopefully we'll be able to if YouTube still allows our channels to be up. The actual count during the live stream is we had 120 to 140 people that were in the live stream, but immediately after the live stream I went and I rewatched the entire live stream, and it said the total views on the live stream within 15 minutes of us being done of the live stream, it had been viewed over 440 times. So I think what it was is we had 120, 140 that were logged into their accounts and were in the live stream, and those accounts would be able to post in the chat. But we had potentially 300 others that were watching it not logged in. So we were probably close to the 500 that I was hoping for. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about anticipation or possible courses of action with the election and that stuff and what could occur. I did a video not long afterwards about the country splitting up into essentially two massive elements. The Union, which is the remainder of the United States of America being led by Trump, and it's made up of people that refuse to accept the clearly fraudulent results from the election. And the other element, the Democratic Republic of America, headed by Biden, by all the leftists and all that people. There's been a lot of people that got their panties in a bunch over that one because, well, my county in that state, we're not going to follow through with it, and you have us all marked down as being an enemy territory. We're not going to go through with it. As I said in the damn video, if you bothered to listen to the end, the states that would secede, that is a decision by the state governments, not the people. They won't give a flying rat's monkey spank what the hell you want, what the hell you believe. They will secede as an entire state. Now, what your county does after that, hey, hopefully you do say, screw it, we're not part of this, we're going to stay part of the U.S. Hopefully, you know. But I mentioned in that video about the UN getting involved to secure the new Democratic Republic of America, because they'll say Biden is the lawful president, not Trump. You're starting to see rumblings of that already because of all these world leaders coming out congratulating Biden and all this stuff. And then I said peacekeepers led by primarily the Republic or Chi-Coms, the Communist Chinese troops, would come into the DRA to protect it from the evil Nazi Trump regime. Well, I think one of the first missions, and I made this comment or replied to a comment on a video, one of the first missions of those UN, the UNPROFOR coming in, the UN troops, would be to secure the counties in those seceding states. So they'll come in and quash any rebellion against the rebellion, if you want to think it that way. And then when they take care of that, then they continue to build up their numbers till they assault into the Union territory, the United States under Trump, to remove him from power and put Biden in control of the entire country. Now, what would happen if Biden's in the White House? Well, what would be the difference from the scenarios we've had in the past? Seriously, what? We're in a tyrannical regime at that point, using its existing police and military forces against constitutionalists and so forth. Now, will you have states secede during that? Very possibly. Kaz brought up Texas. Yes, I could see Texas doing that, and I could see a few other states joining in if Texas does it. I don't think it'll be as many as what were on my map that I showed during that last video. I think if we're at Biden is inaugurated and comes in, well, then some of the states that I had down that would be part of the Trump states, they will side with the Biden states because of obeying the law. Even though we know the election's a farce, well, people don't fight, you know, we just hold out for the next election. Regardless of the outcome, I think it's not going to matter. I think there's going to be a fight. Because you look at the actions of the leftists over this last year. They don't want to exist peacefully. They want power. They want to get rid of us. You have them openly talking about creating lists. We've talked about this for weeks. People have done huge videos on this. They want lists to know who their enemy is. And one of the things they're going to do, they're going to go by the voter rolls. Guaranteed, if you voted for Trump, your name's going to be on one of those lists. If you're a gun owner, you're on that list. You're a constitutionalist, you're on that list. You're a Christian, you're on that list. What do you think they're going to do to what's on the list? And I don't want to hear this stuff about they need us, they need us. That's the same thing the Jews said as they were being rounded up and sent off to the concentration camps. Oh, the Nazis need us. They can't get rid of us. Well, they did. They replaced them with slave labor. And what would they replace us with? Oh, maybe people from third world countries trying to come in. Because, you know, no borders, no walls, no USA at all. Well, why did they need then to have constitutionalists or Christians? They can bring in someone from Sudan or Somalia or Iraq. Or maybe they'll bring in someone from Venezuela or Guatemala. Or maybe they'll bring in someone from Indonesia or whatever to replace you. Doesn't matter. Think about it. And they don't need the United States as their military power anymore. They don't. They control enough of the world. They can manipulate enough people around the world to come in and do their bidding. Remember, the right amount of money will get you whatever you want in the world. Especially on the international stage. I know that's kind of bleak. But it's also kind of the way it looks like, the way things are going here. I do want to knock out a few videos later today after I come out of my Thanksgiving coma. I will be doing a shout out video for channels that I recommend, especially on the Patreon side, people that can use some support. One of them, which I'm going to say right now, who really needs the help, is Vermont Concerned Citizen. He was a YouTuber. YouTube took down his channel. He has a channel over on BitChute, but like the rest of us, he doesn't like the way BitChute runs things. So he's gone over to rumble.com. He has a Patreon channel where people can kick him $1 or $2, and I recommend it. I went through here about a week, 2 weeks ago, and I became his first patron. And I'm giving him $10 a month. And that money comes from the cash given to me by my patrons. It's how Patreon works. If you support other channels, they take that money from the money given to you by your patrons. So they don't have to take any from your account. And then what's left over is the money that gets given to you. So I'm kicking him $10 here, maybe as more people sign up, become patrons of his, and help him out, then maybe I'll draw that down to like $5. So I'm doing 10 because the Patreon has their stupid processing fees and all that crap. Other channels on Patreon would be Kaz at Fourth Dimension, John the Prepared Mind, Vaughn the Backcountry Preps, Delaware Patriot is one that I donate a couple bucks to every month also. And then, you know, some channels on YouTube and over on BitChute that people should check into, which more than likely you guys probably already check out these channels anyway. Another video I want to do today is I want to go back to an engineer task, a piece of ordnance from history. I want to do a video on fugas mines. I just have to pull out my manual so I can get the technical drawings down. And I will do a video on how those were employed around fire bases in Vietnam. And how something like that could be copied on an ambush. Just abbreviated in size. You know, instead of a 55-gallon drum, maybe a 5-gallon bucket or a string of 5-gallon buckets along the side of a roadway. You know, just saying. Brainstorming, you know, on how a modern guerrilla could employ a tactic like that. So there's a few other videos I'd like to do. I'm just not as far into them in the prep stage. so I'm not going to mention those right now, but hopefully I'll get to them also. But enjoy your Thanksgiving. Hopefully I haven't pissed all over it. Have fun. Be very thankful for being with your families today, and hopefully you give a big middle finger to the authoritarians, and you have more than 10 people inside your home, more than 3 families inside your home. And I think it was Kaz here that said this last week, if you have elderly neighbors, take them a plate of food. You know, don't just wait till the leftovers. Make up some plates and take it over there, knock on the door, you know, and give them the food. If need be, you can set it on their doormat or whatever, and, you know, leave a can of soda, a bottle of water or whatever next to it, a bottle of juice, so that they can enjoy Thanksgiving, since they're probably locked away, not able to see their families. And make sure to tell them Happy Thanksgiving and not to be discouraged. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and Militia movements, always remember, Essayons.